What if I told you that getting a new customer is the most expensive mistake that you're making? See, most guys think the secret to scaling is more traffic. It's not. The secret is actually what happens after they buy the first thing, right? And today, I'm showing you the math that turns a $50 customer into a $10,000 partner. Today, we're talking about the value ladder, the only way to outspend your competition and finally, win back your time. Hey, how's it going? I'm Isai Rodriguez, and this is the Home Business Hustle. If you're a working dad who's tired of being successful on paper but broke on time, then you're in the right place. We don't do the guru hype here. We don't do the laptop on a beach fairy tales. We just do the work that actually works. All right? So let's get right into it. First off, you can see I'm still back in the nursery here, so we'll see how long this recuperation process will be for my wife. But here we are. I'm here to deliver. So, a few months back, I was looking at my, at my spreadsheets, and I noticed something scary, something terrifying. Right? I had plenty of people buying my entry level stuff. So this meant the ads were working, the funnel was converting, all that good stuff. But the revenue was essentially flatlining, right? I was stuck in what I call the replacement cycle. Someone would get would buy my course, get what they paid for, and then they'd disappear. I was essentially running a one-night stand business, if you will, right? I had to go out every single morning and hunt for a brand new group of people just to cover the bills for the next month, right? It's a brutal, hard way to build a business, man, right? It's the reason I've noticed why most working dads, they just quit. And when you think about it, you can only sustain that level of hustle for so long before you burn out and you decide that the 9 to 5, well, maybe that wasn't so bad after all, right? And so I realized that I wasn't making more money from the people who already trusted me, who had already, I had already won them over. They had already trusted with me. They had, made that first purchase. And that's usually one of the hardest things, right? Like, I had the relationship, but I didn't have a way for them to go deeper with that relationship, right? That's when I realized that I didn't have what's known as a value ladder. And without one, you're not an architect. You're not a CEO of your business. You are essentially just a salesman. Nothing wrong with that, but here's the truth. Is that the person who can spend the most to acquire a customer wins the game against all others. Period. So if your competitor can spend $50 to get a lead and you can only afford 10, then you're dead. But how do you afford more? How can you make that happen? How can you out afford your competition? Well, the answer is pretty simple, actually. You increase the value of every single person who enters your world. That's the value ladder in a nutshell from a high level, perspective. Think about it like this. First, stop the one and done trap, right? What I mean by that is this. If you only sell a $500 course, then every lead that you get is worth exactly what they pay, divided by the number of people who don't buy, right? So if, say you have 100 customers or 100 people on your list, right? And out of those 100, only 5 buy that course. That means that every lead is worth $25, right? If your ads cost $30 a lead, then you're out of business, right? You're losing money, plain and simple, right? The second thing is that you have to create a path for your customers, not just a product, right? Think about it in that like a journey, right? A value ladder is a series of offers that increases in value and price as the customer moves up through it, right? Conceptually, it looks like this. You start with, something free, maybe like a webinar or a guide or something like that. Then you offer what's known as a tripwire, maybe a $47 ebook or something like that, right? Then that's, after they get to that point, that's when you offer, your $500 course, right? Then after that, what's the next step? Maybe a $2,000 group program. And then finally, maybe a $10,000 mastermind for the guys who really want to get the most help. They want to be super close to you. They want, as much of your time and your guidance and leveraging you as they possibly can. Now, let's look at that math again, right? The same 100 leads come in, right? Maybe 20 buy the book, 5 buy the course. You have 5 of them buy the course, and maybe, one joins your group program, right? Suddenly, that same group of 100 people is worth $249 per lead. Think about that. Let that sink in for a minute, right? That means that you go from $25 to $249, right? Same people, same work, but 10 times the revenue, right? The third thing to understand is that trust is an asset. Trust in itself is an asset. It is 10 times easier to sell to someone who, has already bought from you. They already know you're the real deal. They already know that you're not some guru in a rented mansion, right? And so by not having a next step for them, you're actually doing them a disservice, right? And that's the name of the game right there. Providing superior service, something that many people have forgotten in this day and age. Service. Many companies, many businesses, many people, they're quick to take your money, right? But they're slow to provide any type of service. Are you with me? I'm sure you've experienced that before, right? But if you don't have anything to offer, then then there's no service per se, right? If you have nothing to offer that your leads, you're not servicing them. They have a problem, they trust you to solve it, and you're leaving them hanging, right? That's how it is, right? The fourth thing to know is what I call the economic architect advantage, right? So when your leads are worth $200 instead of $20, now suddenly, right? Now you can essentially dominate the market. You can buy the best ads, you can hire the best help, right? You can stop hunting and start building, right? The value ladder is the difference between a job that owns you and a business that sets you free, right? And that's essentially what we all want. I would think, the most important resource, time. I would love to have unlimited time. You're building a pipeline with this that gets wider the further that it goes, right? But here's the thing, is that most guys hit that 10K wall because they're trying to build a skyscraper on a foundation made for a lawnmower shed. Are you with me? Build the ladder first. The scale, that'll follow. That'll easily follow. That'll come automatically, right? When you build the ladder first, right? So tell me, I want to know, what's the one thing that you're selling right now? What is that thing? Drop it in the comments. Let's, I'm going to look through and give some ideas of, for what may potentially be the next rung on your ladder. If you haven't, gotten there yet, right? I want to see what are you all working on? Like, what are you working with, right? Let me know. And listen, again, don't build a business that relies on a constant stream of new strangers, right? Build a business that honors the people who already said yes, right? Be a person of integrity. Show up, provide that value, be that light in their world, right? Give them a way to deepen that relationship. Give them a way to invest more in you, right? The math of success isn't about more leads. Yes, leads are important, but it's about more value per lead. See, when you fix the math, you fix your life, right? So stop replacing people and start serving them. Start providing a service. Start being that servant leader, right? All right, that's all for today. Remember, information without execution is just a hobby. And you didn't click on this video because you needed another hobby, right? You clicked because you're ready to build something that lasts. So go hug your kids, then go and do the work. But first, don't forget to hit the link in the description for your free guide, and I'll catch you in the next episode. Let's get to work. Take care. Bye.